Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Shayla. If you've been here before, you've seen my other videos. Day in the life of a professional dancer, how I blah 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 as a professional dancer, how I blah 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 professional dancer. So I thought I would share my journey of becoming a professional dancer in Las Vegas, as well as some tips and tricks that may help you. So pay attention. Okay, for some background, I grew up in Massachusetts. I went to a small town competitive studio. So I grew up in the competition circuit, not the big one, not the Nouveaux, Radix, convention, not that circuit. I grew up in these Star Powers, Showstoppers, Kids Artistic Reviews, love them. I had the time of my life. But I grew up in a small studio that heavily focused on acro. I didn't take dance too seriously for a long time. It was just a hobby. It was for fun, as kids do. I was homeschooled in high school, so I did get to dance during the day. However, I was the first kid to do that in my studio, so there was no set curriculum of like how it was going to be done or how it was organized or what I was really going to be learning. So it was kind of just like a free-for-all. We were guessing, made it work. A little side note, we're gonna go off on a little tangent if you don't mind. My mom is a school teacher, and in her classroom she has a teacher's assistant. Now this teacher's assistant is an older woman, love her, who has a daughter that lives in Arizona and works at the front desk of a dance studio. Okay? And the daughter heard about this program that was happening in Nevada for pre-professional training. And because my mom's assistant teacher is the sweetest angel, like she just always talked about me and my dancing. So she told her mom about it, and her mom, my mom's assistant, if you're following along, if I'm making sense, told my mom about this program. So this program's called Theater Arts Preparatory School. It is a year-long program that trains you to be a professional dancer. So my mom was like, well, we should tour it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess. Like at this point, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want a traditional life, if you will. So I flew there, I got to go audition, which at that time, I'm not 100% sure if it still runs the same, but at that time you just did a few of the classes with the kids for like 2 or 3 days, I think. The owner of TAPS will tell you like, you know, if you're accepted or what you need to work on or like if you should apply later. And so he sent me a letter of acceptance, which is really exciting, and I still didn't know if I wanted to go. Of course I went, and I had a time. I learned so much. Background, TAPS is Theater Arts Preparatory School. Theater Arts Preparatory School is a pre-professional program ran in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is held at Dance Dynamics now, but back when I was there, it was at the Rock Center for Dance. But it's the perfect program for dancers who are looking to go from a competition dancer to a professional dancer, because unlike the other post-high school programs that you can go to, it's not just taking dance class every day. It is learning how to be a professional, how to write a resume, how to show up to an audition, how you should take care of yourself physically. We were constantly doing audition prep, which gave me anxiety, but now I am so chill and relaxed in an audition setting because we did them all the time. And so you were dancing every single day for almost 8 hours, but our teachers weren't just random teachers who are good at their skill. It was a different teacher every class, every day, every week. It switches up. You know, you are always learning from someone new. They are always working. So you're making connections while you're taking these classes with people who can possibly employ you or recommend you to an employer because they themselves are working. So it really is a school for working professionals. Hey guys, I'm editing this video right now and I feel like I left out a few details. Along with the mock auditions at TAPS, you also had real auditions. My first ever gig, I believe it was my second week at TAPS, and I was a showgirl at NASCAR when it came to Vegas, and it was really cool. It was really exciting that because I was at TAPS, I already had connections with companies because they knew that TAPS trains reliable dancers, and I did get to work gigs during my year of TAPS because of the working professionals that trained us. We also did weekly acting lessons and voice lessons, so those also really helped us. I personally am not a great singer, but I am so thankful that I had to stand up in front of everyone every single Friday and sing a new song and learn how to work with our pianist who accompanied us for all of our music. I had the privilege of training under a lot of working professionals that to this day I am still in touch with. We're almost like friends now on that level, and it's really special because I met them during TAPS when they were training me. So the year I graduated TAPS was 2020. So we ended a little bit early because of COVID. How fun and funky of us. So it was split into 2 semesters, so it was September to December, and then January to I think we ended in early March. So that takes us out of taps and into COVID. COVID times is when I really learned the value of hustling. You don't need to be in a Vegas show, you don't need to be gigging, you need to be making money. So during COVID, I worked at a coffee shop. Loved it. I had a great time. Don't let any of those people who are like, I've only worked dance jobs in my life, don't let them get in your head. Make your money because you need to make money. I was working in this coffee shop while I was auditioning, I was taking classes, I needed the money to go do that. So I worked in this coffee shop. While I was in that period of working at the coffee shop, auditioning, taking classes, I saw a posting for a show that had just opened back up during COVID on the Vegas Strip. So I sent in my headshot and resume for them to approve before I could go to the audition. Thankfully, they were like, yeah, girl, come on, come to the audition. So it was a small audition and it was combined with an audition for one of their other shows. So we showgirl walked, we learned one combo, and then they gave us the opportunity to showcase our tricks, which is kind of unheard of in like the female showgirl world. Like they don't really care if you can do a flip because like you're a showgirl. But I thought that was really cool because obviously I do tricks. Within 3 days of that audition, I had signed my contract and I started rehearsals for Extravaganza, the Vegas Spectacular. That was my first professional contract aside from gigs. I was really lucky to be in a show at all because almost nothing was open on the Strip at this point. I had the opportunity to do my first ever show in one of the most beautiful theaters ever, the Jubilee Theater at Bally's Hotel in Las Vegas, now the Horseshoe, but I had the most amazing cast. I got the opportunity to learn the aerial tracks a few months in. So I did the aerial tracks, I learned a lyra act, and I learned a chandelier lyra act, and it was really exciting. I can do an in-depth video about all of my contracts. I don't want to share like so many stories and details about them, which I could go on and on forever about every contract I've ever done. So maybe I will do a separate video detailing my contracts. But I really have to thank Extravaganza because they made me believe in myself and really, you know, gave me my first opportunity to shine. I didn't even say this. I worked the first 6 months of this contract, okay? Full-time dancing. I worked at the coffee shop too. And save money because you never know what's gonna happen. I worked like the opening shift, so I'd work 5 a.m. to like 11, and then I would go home and nap, and then I would have to be back at work at 5:30 p.m. and then I'd get home at 11, and I would just do that. And I did that for 6 months, which is crazy. I don't know how I did it. So that was my first ever contract, Extravaganza. Towards the end of my Extravaganza contract, there was a posting for a Royal Caribbean audition, so I said, let me go do that. I had already been to an audition and I was offered a contract, but it was after I had already taken Extravaganza, so I said no. So I said, let me show face and go audition again. It was a standard Royal Caribbean audition. We did our across the floor, kicks, turns, all the leaps, all that fun stuff. We did a contemporary combo and we did jazz heels combo, I believe. And that was really fun. I made it all the way through. And again, they asked if we could do tricks. So they filmed our tricks and then they had us line up. They took Polaroid pictures of us all. It was great. And then because I wanted to really prove that I wanted to work for them and I wasn't going to turn down another contract, I went to the next audition, which was like the hour after. That was a showgirl audition, even though I wasn't technically tall enough. I think it was like 5'11" and above, and I'm like 5'9", so I was like, let me show face, be like, hey guys, remember me from an hour ago? I went and I got kept, even though they told me, they were like, girl, you know you're not tall enough, but they kept me and I was like, eh. We learned a little bit of sequins and feathers from Kevin and Marcel. It was great. It was a good time. I was then offered a contract aboard Odyssey of the Seas in the theater cast. I had a few weeks right after my Extravaganza contract to just pack, and then I flew off to Miami for rehearsal. We did a 1.5-month rehearsal in Miami. We were one of the first cast after COVID to be back in the studios to actually learn the shows, so it was really quite special. So we had a 1.5 months of intense training every day, 5 days a week-ish, I think. And on top of that, I was also learning an aerial track for one of the shows, as well as a few of the aerial understudy tracks for a different show. We were doing 2 shows on the ship. I then boarded the ship for 9 months and had the time of my life. Again, I will share stories in a different video if y'all are interested. I loved the shows. I loved my friends. I loved having family be able to come visit. It was really fun. It was really special. I had the time of my life. Now, normally with cruise ship performers, you fill out a form on the ships that you want to do next, and the offices will let you know in a few months what ship you got, if you got a ship, if you didn't get a ship, and that stresses me out. So I didn't want to get off the ship and not have a job lined up. So I called up my friends over at Extravaganza because they had 2 shows other than Extravaganza, and I said, hey, what if I came and like swung both your shows? And they said, hey, how about you just do full time at one of them? And I said, you're right, let's do it. So then I signed my contract before I ever got off the ship. We were dealing with the ship's really shitty Wi-Fi, but We made it work and I got my contract all signed. We did our negotiations before I ever got off the ship. And so the day I got off the ship and flew back to Vegas, I unpacked, and then the very next day I started rehearsals for Rouge. It is really important, even if you're leaving a company for a different company, to have good relationships with everyone, because you never know when you're gonna need a job. You're gonna run into them, they'll be able to help you out. I called them up and I said, hey besties, and they said, hey girl. And then I went on and I did Rouge for 7 months. It was really fun. Love the cast. The show was so fun. And then there was another open call. You getting the theme? Go to auditions. You never know. So there was an audition for Fantasy at the Luxor, and I said, let me go do that. And so I went to that open call for Fantasy, and it ended up going really well. We learned one combo, and then we just slated and gave our availability, and I got hired. I was one of the chosen few. So I booked Fantasy originally as a swing, but then I gave them a little email and I said, hey, by the way, my availability's cleared up. I'm available. And so within a few weeks, I actually got to become full-time. And I still am a full-time dancer over at Fantasy. It was really special because right at the time that I was hired, right around when they started revamping the whole entire show for the 25th year anniversary of Fantasy, which is insane. The show's been open longer than I've been alive. So to be able to be in such an iconic show and work with all these amazing choreographers the second I got hired, it was absolutely phenomenal. I could not have asked for a better experience transitioning into a show. I just love it there. The girls are great. We're treated so well. I just re-signed for another year. Through it all, just be yourself. Unless you're auditioning to be a rockette, then be like a rockette. Most shows are looking for individual people who work well together, not a bunch of robots that all look the same and talk the same and act the same. Be yourself. And keep in mind, no one wants to be in a cast with a diva or a mean girl. It literally does not matter if you think you are the best dancer in the room. If you are giving a bad vibe, they will not cast you. No one wants to spend a year with a bitch in their cast. Like, no one's gonna willingly hire that. This sounds kind of strange, but learn to highlight yourself. I know that's like obvious. Yeah, of course, highlight yourself. For me personally, I was always almost ashamed of like, oh, I do tricks and that's not what they need. Might not be what they need, but it's probably something that they might like. I was weirdly insecure about throwing a trick in audition because I didn't want to be like that person that whips out a trick at an audition. But I have cool tricks to whip out at an audition. So I'm gonna whip it out at an audition. And every time, even if they don't need you to do tricks, they're gonna be like, that's cool. And then that gets you a raise when you do tumble in your shows. Highlight yourself. If you can do something other people can't do, don't be ashamed because other people can't do it. Just do it. Another tip, always make friends at auditions. When you are at an audition or you're at a dance class, you don't know who the girl next to you is. You don't know who the guy on the table is. They could be in a cast with you. They could be your next choreographer for your next big thing. It could literally be the person taking numbers and signing names at the check-in door. And if you're kind of mean to them, they're gonna walk in and say, by the way, Shayla was a bitch, don't hire her. And then boom, you're out of a job because you couldn't be nice. I have so many friends that I've met at auditions that we didn't even get booked together. But like, we are still friends, we're all working in different areas, and now we can advocate for each other because we know that the other person's talented and we know that they're a good person and you can vouch for them. Last but not least, don't give up. I know it's tempting, it is so hard to break into the industry, but keep training, keep making connections, and keep putting yourself out there, please. The world needs individuals, the world needs you. Everyone's journey is different, so stay true to you. Believe it will happen, and it will. And again, please let me know if you would actually be interested in me making a video, giving stories and going in depth about each contract that I've done. I've had the best time the past 5 years dancing, and I would really love to share that with you. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. Comment any specific questions. As always, feel free to DM me on my Instagram, comment below, send a message however you'd like, send smoke signals, I'll get them. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Make sure to subscribe to me if you're not already. Leave a comment and thumbs up this video. All right, bye bye.